Bibliosophie.
Just because I like my froggy.
Yeah.
That's all. Froggy pin.
Good morning, happy Monday. I am not quite as brutally busy this week, so I would like to use this time to think of some larger scale projects that I need to work on, a couple of writing projects, some music learning for later on in the spring, have a kind of larger scale view for once of things. I have that luxury, so I would love to use it. I would also like to do some housework. Basically, my apartment is always relatively clean and relatively attractive, but it could use some deep clean in some parts, so I'm going to try to take on some of that this week. I don't expect to do everything, but I am going to try to force myself to do at least some things. And my first order of business is to go buy some useful groceries, so let's get on that. Hello, it snowed today. I spent a large chunk of the day frolicking outside, so I didn't do that much productive stuff outside of jobs today, really. Did some practicing, not a lot of large, big picture planning, not a whole lot of house cleaning, just kind of puttering along. It's okay. I haven't been reading that much the past couple of weeks. I've been in process with a lot of different books, but I am not really making that much progress in any of them. One of my big projects currently is starting East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I started it a few days ago. I'm about 100 pages in, 112 pages in. It is growing on me. So many people whose opinions I value and largely share love this book, so I have to assume that I will also at least like it. I'm not there yet. The first 25-30 pages were rough, I'm gonna be honest with you. Not because they are a rewriting of the Genesis story. I think some people get put off by the biblical allegorical thing that Steinbeck is doing. And that didn't really bother me so much. It was being faced with the fact that I was gonna have to follow the story of, from what I could tell at the time, just a couple of brothers that I was completely not invested in, and just some dudes duding about. And I just realized I don't want to spend 600 pages with some American dudes duding about. There is also some blatant racism at the very beginning, basically, that really took me out for a while. But with all of that, I am definitely liking this more. This is a very fast read. I am not making fast progress just because I'm not reading that much of anything right now, but it's at least, it flows extremely quickly. So I suspect I'm going to like it more and become more and more invested. I'm already more invested now with the introduction of our first major female character, who is also very problematic, but I don't know, I like her. So 100 pages in, I really like Kathy. That's maybe very weird if you have read this book, but I like her. One of the narrative arcs of this vlog, I've decided, is the blossoming of this flower, so here's your update. I reorganized my book trolley yesterday. Here are books that I plan to read pretty soon. And on this level are materials that I'm using for writing projects, especially my dissertation. let's do a little bit of reading update, shall we? I am making my way fitfully through Steinbeck. I read about 50 pages of it yesterday. I'm still not enthralled. It is sometimes very compelling, so it's getting more and more compelling for me, but I'm still kind of stuck on it sometimes, depending on what part of the narrative we're in, basically, and who we're following. I'm just more or less interested. So it's still very early days. We'll see. It is growing on me, but I'm still not enamored. Last week I started Dictée by Theresa Kyung. I'm loving this book. I've been meaning to read it for several years. I heard about it a couple of years ago, and I'm finally dipping in. This is very much a patchwork sort of creation. It's part memoir, personal history, family history, investigation of ancestry, essay on immigration and cultural trauma and artifacts. It is poetry. It is collage of images. It has several languages going on at once. The name itself, I'm calling it Dictée, but it has no diacriticals on it. So while it's probably the French word dictée, which means dictation, it is also, to me, like an English word that would be dictee, as in, I guess, somebody that you would be dictating to, the receiver of a narrative, and it plays around with form, with storytelling and storytelling methodologies. I'm really loving this. I'm gonna try to finish it in the next few days, really dig into it more fully, because I haven't been reading it for the past chunk of time. I did quite a lot of work so far this week on my own stuff. I've been doing a lot of reading that is not for this channel. I've been doing a lot of dissertation reading, which has been very interesting. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I've been doing some good work, so huzzah. Some cleaning, not nothing. So I'm slowly managing some various things. I always feel like I'm slower than I need to be, but I guess I'm about as fast as I can be or something. I'm not sure. Voila, and in fact, I'm gonna get back to work. Yes, let's do it. Just wait. I might just not go outside and just be a cat in the corner. I really don't have any reading updates in terms of my extracurricular reading because I just have not been doing that much of it. I have really been working a lot on dissertation stuff this week, which is great. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have probably seen some various stories about that and my kind of monomaniacal working process. So that's occupying a tremendous amount of my brain space, again, which is great. It just means that I'm really not doing much extracurricular reading. I have not at all progressed in Steinbeck, and I'm almost done with Dictée, but still that has been much slower than it could have been. I also started a Simone de Beauvoir a couple of weeks ago, pour une morale de l'ambiguïté, which I just have not at all been reading. It's okay. I'm sometimes a little bit frantic about this. I have so many obligations in terms of buddy reads, and I'm definitely falling behind. And then I have to tell myself, come on, Sophie, don't be ridiculous. You have actual reading that is, you know, more professionally important to you to do. So I'm able to kind of talk me off of that particular anxiety ledge. I am so tired today. I've had some very insomniac nights for the past 2 nights, and I feel completely decrepit. I feel like I look decrepit, and I feel just heinous. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe get a little bit of sleep this afternoon. I'm not typically a napper, but let's see. I also hate this shirt, which is not the right shape or size for me. We're not doing well. Still extremely tired. I went to a show, it was great, had a great time, meant to go to a party. There were some subway kerfuffles and I just decided to give up and go home, and I'm extremely grumpy. No, I'm not grumpy, I'm upset. I'm actually just upset right now, and I'm gonna try to sleep tonight. I don't know.
The next stop is Wall Street.
20 to 25 was really fucking rough.
Hi, hello, good afternoon. It is currently about 3:15, and there are 3 things that I would like to accomplish before the end of the afternoon. One is to finish this book that I've been reading for my dissertation research, La Mer et la Cathédrale. I haven't been speaking of it because it's my other reading life. I have 2 more sections left of it. I might not read the very final one actually, but I do want to read the penultimate one, which means reading about 25 pages, so deeply manageable. I also want to finish Dictée. I have something like 40-50 pages left in this book, but some of them are very short pages, and I think that'll be wonderful. I think that's my first order of business. Just kind of relax a little bit, and then finally I want to go outside again. It is a beautiful day, albeit in my opinion quite cold, so I want to take some advantage of it before sunset. Probably I will go out for sunset, in fact. All right, let's go. Here are a few lines that really illustrate the kind of wordplay that I love in this book. Colors faintly dust against your vision. Erase them. Make them again white. Your dust, or maybe you redust, we'll talk about that in a second. You fade. So first of all, we've got the double meaning of dust, dust against your vision, maybe are on the periphery of your vision or graze against your vision, but also your dust, as in you fade. You are dust to dust, ashes to ashes. Ashes are also white, so we've got this multi-sensory thing happening. You are fading into oblivion, into whiteness. And then in the you redust line, is it your dust with a contraction, but there's this weird capital in the middle of it? Or is it you redust, as in the verb is redust, as in dust again? This is especially common in French, to put the prefix heureux in front of just about any verb to make it mean that verb again. And we've already seeded the again in the previous part of the line, make them again white. And that itself has an echo in terms of phonetics with the dust against your vision. So there's this multi-sensory, wonderful play on words, sounds, associations. So I did indeed finish the 2 books I wanted to finish this afternoon, which I'm very pleased about. This is gonna sound stupid, but isn't it lovely to sit and read? Sometimes I forget that, even though I have a book channel and obviously get through a lot of books, I kind of forget how wonderful it is to just sit for an hour or 2 in a sunny afternoon and get reading done. So that was deeply pleasurable and I think very useful for me in many different ways. I love Dictée, as I said previously, and I think I want to reread it in the not too distant future. I think I would benefit from a second reading of it. Steinbeck has been slow going, as I have said a couple of times I think already in this vlog, and my attention in it is deeply uneven. I did have a moment where it was really a page turner for me, but it so highly depends on whose story we're following. So I'm very open to the possibility, even the probability, that I will like this a lot more as I keep reading it. But I confess that I'm not quite there yet. I don't hate it. Don't come at me. I understand why people like it. It's fine. But I'm not in love with it. I've got a couple Simone de Beauvoir on my horizon. I mentioned that I was sort of reading, but not successfully reading. I think in English this is The Ethics of Ambiguity. It's very interesting. I just sort of have let it fall by the wayside, so I'd like to make this a more active part of my reading life. And La Femme Rompue is a book club pick to come, so I need to get on that at some point. I feel very behind on everything. It's okay, don't panic. How have I been doing in terms of productivity? I had this grand scheme. Actually, as I suspected, did not get everything done that I need to accomplish in the next 3 years of my life in 1 week, but it was good to fall down a rabbit hole of dissertation work this week. I really haven't been thinking of that in months, really, as much as I did this week. So that was also very pleasurable and obsession-inducing for me to start whirring those gears again. And that's where I'm going to leave you. See you in the next one.